Okay, on this video regarding synthesis, I'm going to show you what's known as modular synthesis. Modular synthesis is basically creating your own synthesizer from scratch. Now there's loads of synthesizers out there that you can do this with. Synthedit, Reactor, KarmaFX, Tasman, Modular. There's loads of them. For this, I'm going to use KarmaFX. The reason I'm going to use it is because it's relatively simple and it just happens to be my favourite synth at the moment. So I'm just going to add an instrument track, and it's relatively cheap synth as well. It doesn't cost an arm and a leg. So this is KarmaFX. The first thing we're going to do is install the starter FXP file, which is just a blank synth. And to do that, we just go here, import, and starter. So there we go. We start with an output, and this is just the control section. These sections here can be assigned to any parameter of anything in the synth, and then these can be latched to MIDI. So if I assign a MIDI control and then move something on my synth, as you can see, but we're not going to worry about that. What we're going to do is create a basic synth. Now, synthesis in general needs a generator, so an oscillator. That could be any type of oscillator from your sine all the way through to noise. You generally need some kind of mixer to mix the oscillators together if you're using more than one oscillator. Then a filter is normally normal, and maybe a couple of envelopes to control some of the filters parameters, and an amplifier, and then some other bits and bobs, effects, depending on the synth that you're, depending on the application that you're using to create the synth. There's some other stuff you're going to need as well. Okay, so there's our main output. So this is just going to be a standard, I guess, a subtractive synthesizer, really. But the first thing we need to do is add a note pitch controller that allows us to communicate with the MIDI keyboard. So if you right click and you go add module, and we're looking for the controller 1 note pitch, so it'll be controller note pitch. As you can see, controller note pitch. This allows us to allows the MIDI device that we are using, the keyboard or whatever that may be, to communicate with the synthesizer. Now the first thing we need to do is hook this up to the output. And the way this is done is if you go to the output, and just where it says output, if you right click, sorry, a plane just flew overhead then. Okay, so if you go to the output, right click, select input and controller 1. So what we've done is told controller 1's output to go to the main output's input. Okay, so anything that happens will come here. And as you can see, there's a little arrow here that tells you which way the signal's flowing. To get rid of this, you just right click on the little arrow. So right click, input controller 1. Okay, we don't need to do anything else with that for the time being. Okay, so the first thing we need is our tone generator. So we'll just use oscillator 1. And we'll leave it as a saw wave for the time being. Now, we'll add another oscillator. So right click, add module, generator, oscillator 2. Now as you notice, there's a distinct difference between oscillator 1 and oscillator 2. Oscillator 1 has your pulse width, your phase, detune and frequency, main output, and these little lights here let you choose different things to look at. So for instance, at the moment, it's frequency, take that away, modulation, frequency, whatever. It's just these really, but we don't have to worry about that at the moment. Now you've also got a waveform section here where you can choose square, triangle, ramp and sine. Don't worry about the trigger, you don't need to understand what that is at the moment, you can just read up on that. Now as you can see, oscillator 2 is completely different. You've got a mix, you've got a ring modulator, tune 2 and a frequency 2. It's just more parameters really. And you've also got 2 different waveforms, so you can have a square and a saw if you like, or a square and a triangle or whatever, but we're just going to leave this at saw. Okay, so we've got 2 oscillators. The next thing we're going to need to add is a mixer. The reason we need to add the mixer is so that we can mix both the oscillators' frequencies to outputs together. So if I right click, add module, amplifier, mixer. Okay, so now what we want is oscillator 1 and 2's outputs to come into the amplifier so they can then be mixed together here, yeah? So right click on amplifier, input, as you can see it's called generator 1 and generator 2, so input generator 1, input generator 2. Okay, so now we've got our 2 generators, we've got an amplifier. What we're going to do next is add a filter. Again, right click, add module, and the filter is on the, where is it? Oh, there, filter. Now there's several different filters. We're just going to stick with the Moog filter for the time being. Just because it's a well-known filter as well. And we're going to send, we want the amplifier's output to come into the filter. So basically, right, let me just do that first. So input, amplifier 1. Okay, so what we've got at the moment, we're creating 2 sound sources, oscillator 1, oscillator 2. Both of those sound sources are going into the amplifier and then being mixed together. There is different options here, but just leave it at add. These 2 are being mixed in the amplifier. The output of that is then being sent to the filter, where you can filter the sound. This is what makes it subtractive, because you're subtracting sounds from the oscillators to create a sound, yeah? Pretty simple, really. Now, from there, we could probably go to the note pitch. Let's just have a look. Input, filter 1. There you go. So we've got a constant signal but there's no control at the moment. So what we're going to do is we're going to add a amplifier and put the filter into the amplifier. And then we're going to send the amplifier into here and see what happens. It's amplifier 2, isn't it? Okay, so we've still got the sound source. We've got the 2 waves being put into this mixer, being mixed in there, being added to the filter. You then do whatever you want to do with the filter, whether it be a low pass, high pass or a band pass. That's then going into the amplifier. This amplifier is then controlling it with this gate feature and trigger feature. And then, now if I play the notes, okay, because of the, I think it's the combination of the gate and the trigger, they're both being controlled. So now, it only works when you push the keyboard, yeah? So there you go, that's a basic synthesizer. That's as basic as you, well, it's not as basic as you could get, because if you take this away, that's as basic as you can get. In fact, you probably don't even need the amplifier now. If we remove that, and then just, there you go. Saw wave, obviously. Triangle. Square. ramp, and a sine wave. But obviously that's not not what we want, because we want it to be a little more complicated than that. So we'll just again add an oscillator 2, add another mixer, and generator 1 and 2. Okay, so obviously we're not really concerned about the sound at the moment. We just want to build a nice little synthesizer, yeah? Okay, so now normally what you would also find on a synth is a means of using an envelope to control the cutoff of the filter. It's just a classic setup. Now you can use, if you right click add module, and we want to go to modulator and ADSR envelope, attack, decay, sustain and release. Now we want this to control the cutoff of this filter. So you right click on the cutoff button, input, and we want modulator 1, I believe. So that's now controlling the cutoff. Turn it off. So you can actually hear the envelope making a difference. So let's just change this, the settings, the ADSRS settings, until we get a kind of sound that we like. Paperwork. Okay, you can obviously mess around with the different types, but we'll just leave it on linear for the time being. Obviously, less attack, more attacky it is, so quick attack. Bring it all the way around to here. Yeah, but we'll just leave it. Okay, and of course you can change the cutoff as well. But we'll just leave it like that for the moment. You see what the ADSR envelope's doing. Depending on the settings, it's controlling the cutoff of the filter. Okay, we can also, to make it a little more interesting, we could control the filter cutoff with an LFO, let's say. So right click, add a module, we want to find LFO, and then again go to the cutoff, input, modulator 2. So now LFO stands for low frequency oscillator. What it does is moves at such a low frequency, the oscillator, it oscillates. So it sends a signal, in this case a sine wave, to whatever parameter we want to control, and then you can change the speed and the amount of that signal, and it will change the cutoff. So let me just try and demonstrate that for you. Just now, so we have both the ADSR affecting the cutoff, and the LFO again. Right, let me just slow that down a bit. You'd hear this in kind of drum and bass lines. Obviously it would be a better sound than that. Just need to detune these a bit. Let's change that to square. Just leave that like that. Tell you what, let's try and see if we can get a better. So, just to recap, we've got the generators creating the sound that are then being sent to an amplifier to be mixed. That's then been sent to a filter, which filters the sound to create a different sound. We've then got an LFO controlling the cutoff frequency that makes it move depending on the rate and amount. Now, let me just leave that one like that. Something else I'll show you. Okay, you could also use a LFO to control, well, pretty much any parameters. I'm going to use it to control the frequency here. That's a modulator 3. And you could also use this LFO to control the rate of this one. So as you can see, you can get a bit crazy, but we don't want to get that kind of in-depth. Just want to try and keep this as basic as possible. Okay, so we've got two generators to the amp, being mixed in the amp, sent to the filter, which is then being modulated by these two modulators. The cutoff is, but don't have to be both sent to the cutoff. You could have one going to the resonator, the resonance, sorry. In this case, I'm just going to leave it on the cutoff. And then the filter's been sent to the amplifier to the note pitch, and then straight to the output. Makes sense, yes? Okay, let's add another oscillator, but a noise oscillator. Okay, now noise can be used for anything. It's great for obviously percussive sounds, and I like white noise, sorry. But it's up to you. Just mess around with different types of noises. White noise is every frequency, random. Pink noise is odd frequencies, I think, but I can't really remember. But I'm just going to I want to mix this, and with these two, the problem is I can't add a generator 3 to that. Oh well, you can, but oh yeah, it's because I've got the new version of Karma. You didn't used to be able to do that. You had to use another amplifier, which I'm going to do now because it's a good way to learn. So I've got another amplifier, and I'm going to put that the input for generator 3, and then what you do is send the output of this amplifier into here. So amplifier 2. Sorry, yeah, even though it says it's a mixer, isn't it? This should be a mixer also. Sorry, that was my fault. It won't let me add that mixer now. Yeah, obviously the new one does, but let's just forget that. So we're sending that to here. So we want that this mixer to come into this mixer. So input amplifier 2. So what we've done is we've got the noise generator coming out into this mixer. We've got oscillator 1 and oscillator 2 coming into this amplifier, which then comes into here, which then mixes all 3 signals in here. And the next place we want to send this to is to the filter. So we'll just break that connection there and we'll tell it to be amplifier 3. So now what we've got going through the filter is all 3 of these signals. So, and as you can hear, the noise is creating that sound. Okay, but that's okay, that's cool. We can, of course, do that. Right, now what we've got is... Okay, if I just turn that down, turn that down, turn that down. All we've got now is the noise with everything mixed off. Which is a great Psytrance sound, but there you go. Right, that's all the frequencies bypassed. High pass filter. Turn it up if you want, but we'll just leave it there. Okay, we'll turn the other ones up. But you still can't hear it yet because these two are going into there. So we need to turn this mix up. Sorry, if I turn this mix up, that one's going into there, coming into here. Okay, so we've got our 3 generators coming, the top 2 coming into one amplifier, the bottom one going into another amplifier, the output of this, sorry, going into the mixer, the output of this mixer coming into another mixer, which then mixes all 3 signals, well, adds them together in fact. You can subtract, you can add ring modulation, etc., but we're not going to get into that. The output of this is then going into the filter. Let me just change this a bit so it doesn't affect the sound so much, so we can kind of hear what's going on. Okay. So we've got 2 modulation sources, so ADSR and an LFO controlling the cutoff. Depending on the settings is depending on obviously how it's going to be controlled. Then going into the amplifier, which then goes into the note pitch and then into the output. Okay, so that is basically a very basic synthesizer, and it's universally the same. You've got your sound generators, your mixer to mix the sound generators if you're using more than one, a filter, some kind of modulation source to modulate the filter, or the oscillators, or the mixer, anything. You can modulate anything. It's just like the modulators are like the matrix section on, say, albino or blue or something like that. Then it all goes into the amplifier, which sends it to the note pitch that allows you to control it from the keyboard to the output. So now once you've done that, then you can start to have some fun, really. So let's see what we can add here. Let me think now. Right, let's modulate Let's add another ADSR envelope. See if it makes any. So another envelope, and we're going to use this envelope to control the amplitude of the amplifier. So modulator 3. So as you can hear, pushing the keys, so there's not a lot going on. So we need to kind of sort out. Okay. I'm going to okay, so not too bad. Okay, what about adding some effects to make it sound better? And of course you can also control the ADSR settings, so by modulating it with something else, so LFO perhaps, modulator 4. Doesn't sound that great, but you can see you can just keep modulating stuff. I'm gonna let me just modulate the saw waves frequency with modulator 4. Okay, so that's some crazy sound going on there. Okay, let's add an effect. We'll add a delay, I reckon, and we'll add it over here. So an effect, add a delay. Now the delay has to be the output of the controller has to come into the delay, so controller 1, and then of course the delay has to go to the main output, so effect 1 should be in there. So let's have a listen. Let's maybe add 4 beats. That's better. Kill some of the feedback. So obviously, and now if you wanted to add more effects, they would need to go. They would need to be in the chain. So let's say we add a reverb. Now we would need to disconnect that because we would want it to be delayed first, then into the reverb. So make that effect 1, and then we would put effect 2 into the output. Let's have a listen to that. There you go. You can hear the reverb. You can hear the delay and then the reverb as well, obviously. Let's see what we've got here. Cathedral. Okay, so that's a basic synthesizer. It's getting complicated now, and obviously we didn't spend much time on the sources. See, like, you would obviously have to tidy this up a bit, so we can put that up there. Amplifier, and the way I like to do it is I like to be able to see at least the arrows, so I just kind of keep it nice and tidy. I can put that over there. Now we know that this is modulating this down here, so we pop that there. We can put that there so I can see the complete cable, and then we can maybe move that up to there. That could probably, I didn't want to show you that yet, but that could go to there, and then this, now we know that that's in there, we know that that reverb's feeding off of that, so if we put that there, put that reverb, just see if I can move this a little bit more to there, move that a little bit more to there, and this can just go right down here out of the way for the time being. I just want to be able to see my sources. Put that there, and then move this across a bit. Right, okay, so now I can see I can see all the triangles. I know where everything's been fed to, so okay, so I know where everything's going. So now if I just come up here, I can save the preset as test 1. Okay, and now if I come in here, I'm not sure if this one will show me it in here or not. Didn't think so. What you need to do is just kind of click on that and load preset, and it'll be there. Like, for instance, if I go Mark 1, okay, that's a squelch one that I made. That's a lot different because I'm using step modulators, but you can have a listen if you like. Load preset. Another one I'd done was Mark 1. Which is the same principle as the last one. And the one we just made, test 1. There we go. So that's a basic synth. Now, obviously the sound's quite rubbish, so you can mess around. You don't have to use your synthesizer, your oscillators, of course, all of them. I like that sound. That's a very classic psytrance synth sound. So I could just come up here now and just maybe write maybe a little offbeat pattern, perhaps. Maybe there, maybe something in there and in there, perhaps. Okay, and just to let you kind of see what's going on, obviously, if I just add a kick drum. Okay, so that's my basic synthesizer here. Now, let's just say I want to automate the cutoff. If I right click on the cutoff, come to control and go number 1, it will pop down here. That's 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. You can have 7 parameters there. So I've now got the cutoff from filter 1 here. If I right click on that, assign MIDI control, I just move my paperwork out the way, and turn a knob on my synth. So there we go. So now I press play. Okay, now if I want to do the same with the resonance, control number 2, assign MIDI control. Okay, let's have a listen. So as you can see, it's relatively easy, and depending on the waves that you choose, obviously there's the sound that you're going to get. I'm just going to modulate that a bit more. Maybe turn off the reverb. Okay, so as you can see, you can have loads of fun really quickly, and if all this gets all too much, right click, go to options, minimize all. There you go, there's your synth. So you could then kind of tidy it all up a bit if you really want. So you could use this section just for looking at your synthesizer. Just so you know what's what, what's where, what's going on. You can even make it really nice and tidy. And then when you go right click, options, maximize all. Yeah, it's going to be a bit messy, but it's not too bad still. It's not that bad. You can see everything. If you want to mess around with oscillator 2, just click on it and then there's your settings. And then once, if you want to, if everything starts getting a little bit confusing, you just right click, options, minimize all, and then you say, okay, that feeds into there, and that's you done. Now that's synthesis at its most basic, because that's subtractive synthesis. I'm going to show you some stuff on maybe some additive. No, I don't think I'll do additive because it's a bit it's the concept's a bit okay, yeah, I'll do something on additive and I'll do something on physical modelling just to show you some of the difference, and depending on how much time I've got left, I'll show you some stuff, maybe on Predator, how to create a kick drum, a bass, a lead, etc. Okay, I hope that synthesis introduction was good for you, and thanks for watching.